everyone, it's Diane with Batik, and today is Fabric Friday, and we're going to share with you our collection of 115-inch wide batik cotton in the color of green. Much like the blues that we shared with you last week, there are so many different shades of green. There can be, well, let me just look outside our window here. My goodness, there's the grass green, there's leaves, there's stems on flowers, there's a blue green in an evergreen tree. There just are so many different ways to look at the color green. And today we are going to do a close-up of a lot of our 115-inch wide fabrics that I would classify, if somebody were going to ask me what I believe green is, these are those fabrics. So without much ado, let's get into the details of each one of our green fabrics. The green family is interesting. I have separated one fabric kind of away from the other shades of green here only for one reason, because I would classify this particular fabric, which is Medora Flora Green Flash, as also a bright. And when we kind of look at different collections of fabric, you'll see this one when we do a review of all of the bright shades and our kind of what I call Crayola shades. But it is also green. And so this is, again, our Medora Flora, and it has a bright green background, kind of a limey bright green with shades of strawberry, yellow, kind of a lightish pink in here that run throughout the motif. The next grouping is really what you would think of as more of an earthy green as we get through this grouping here. And the first one has, and I'm adding this one in here because the background, even though it's a tan, it's kind of a tan with a little bit, it's not yellow, it's really tan. The leaves of the Gardenista vine motif are this beautiful kind of a hunter green. It's very similar to the shade that we have in our Fairway Nuance Gradation colorway. And there's little bits of a burnt kind of burgundy in here as well. And this transitions over to the fabric that is the color of Eden. This is the one we call Eden, and it's Gardenista Vine. And it is a green on green. So where the background here is tan, this one is a lighter shade of a limey green, and the motif is all the shade of the darker green. And again, this one, both of these will match very nicely with the gradation fairway that we have in our Nuance 45-inch wide collection. Jumping over to this beauty, and you're going to see a little bit of color. I'm going to show, actually, I'm going to slide these over here. These two fabrics here are both the motif of vine. And this is Garden Flower. This is Shady Glade. And the background shade of these, you can see it's lighter here with the Garden Flower, but it is a green background with the bright fall shades that you typically see when you're, September, October timeframe when the leaves are changing color. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful earthy fabric combination or color combination. I'm going to slide this one over. Shady Glade, and I'm going to compare Shady Glade to Budding Green over here. And you'll see that the Shady Glade is the background of green, various mottled shades of green with a little bit of blue in it. It goes towards some of the blue shades as well. And then the motif is this golden tan or brown that flows through it. Where you might think this is green, Shady Glade, this is also this is a brighter green. So we're getting into, I'm going to slide the Medora Flora over here, but it's more of a rich, bold green with the lighter green inside the motif. So where this is kind of the Crayola color green, this gets more to a bold and really a beautiful green shade here. And this is the Violetta motif. And then I'm going to slide this over here, and we're going to get into a hand-dyed color of green, which is Juniper. And Juniper is actually out of stock right now. We'll be back in stock this later in the fall. But Juniper is one that I always describe as a very, very rich green that works beautifully with Christmas shades, Christmas projects, things that really require a traditional hunter juniper green to it. And it is more blue than the budding green is here. Okay. And then we have a very, very dark, and I put this in our green category. It's called Atlantic Blue, and it is, no, Atlantic Deep. I'm so sorry, Atlantic Deep. And this has, it almost looks like a charcoal shade, and the motif is Violetta, and the colorway that's going through the motif is, almost looks silver, to be honest with you. It's a tannish silver shade, and it does have modeling to it as well. And what I did, just to show you kind of a comparison, let me show you what this looks like against a black, like a solid black. This is our tuxedo. So it has that shade of a green background to it. And now let me show you what this looks like with a blue. You see the difference? This is majestic blue, and here's our hand-dyed tuxedo, which is solid black with the Atlantic Deep. And so there is definitely a green component to the Atlantic Deep. Okay, and so that's, I guess, what I consider our deepest, darkest green. And then the last one I'm going to share with you, like we did with the blue collection, is our double border. And I'll get into more detail with this particular fabric and how we've used it so far in our collection and different projects. But this is the shade of Ivy, and it is our double border, where this is the selvage edge right here. And there's about, I don't know, 2.5 inches or so of just a simple hand dye edge along the selvage, with about 9.5 inches or 10 inches of a border, which runs on both selvage edges. And then the center of this fabric is the Phoenix motif, which is connected to the border design here and runs all the way through the middle of the fabric, which gives it about 95 inches of this motif running through the middle. And this is, again, a beautiful fabric to be used for any home decorating projects, like your duvet covers, tablecloths, different things like that, where you can really showcase a border fabric here. So let's summarize these again. So we've got our border batik, which is in Ivy, the Atlantic Deep in the motif of Violetta, our hand-dyed Juniper. The next one down the line here in intensity is our budding green Violetta, the vine motif of both Shady Glade and Garden Flower, and the Gardenista vine motif of Eden and Waning Autumn. I really hope you enjoyed the close-up of each one of the green fabrics in our 115-inch wide Batik Cotton Collection. The last fabric that I shared with you was our double border in the shade of Ivy. I wanted to share with you a project that we did with that fabric. And again, this is the double border, where each selvage edge has the border design, and then it transitions into the Phoenix motif, which runs all the way through the middle of the fabric. Okay, so what we did is we cut the 115 inches in half to get 57 inches. Those 57 inches we used to create this apron. And the bottom of the apron showcases the border from that one side of the 115 inch wide fabric. And so this apron is really, I just love it, just because it has the motif of the phoenix running all the way through. The pockets here are the phoenix motif, again, taken from the same fabric. And then the border just simply finishes this apron and runs along the bottom. This pattern might be familiar with some of you. It is Mary Malari's crisscross apron pattern. And on our website, we do have the pattern. We of course have the fabric, but we also have a fashion duo to make it a lot easier for you to buy both of them to save on both the fabric and the pattern when you do that. So if you need an apron, let me tell you, this is the easiest, fun way to add a little bit of style to the bottom of your aprons. They're great. And you can purchase this in any one of our colorways. Just the green is just, to me, is such a fun summer bright apron to wear when you're doing your cooking, or into the fall when you're doing your canning. The other two fabrics I want to share with you here, I mentioned throughout the details of the green fabrics, are gradation batiks. And the first one I shared with you was the color Fairway. And I want to show that to you here. Fairway is our green that, boy, it can be spring, summer, or fall, but we use this fabric mainly for projects that require like applique leaves or stems, things that transition between color to give you that feeling of texture and movement in your projects. It's wonderful for landscapes. And so one selvage edge here is a lighter green, which transitions all the way to a deep, really, really deep green on the other selvage edge. And let me put this up against the fabric that we called Gardenese Divine Eden, which has the green on green. It's not the other one, which is Waning Autumn. But I can put these two side by side and you'll see how beautiful this green of the gradation is with each one of those fabrics. It's just really a beautiful accent. And just to share with you the color combinations that work across our fabric collections. So this is one of the green shades we have in our gradation collection. The other is Mint, and I'm going to relate that to our Medora Flora Green Flash, which is really our bright green. Mint is the other green we have, and it kind of transitions from a fluorescent green, limey green, all the way through the color transition to an emerald green. And so if you were to cut these apart, you would get 4 distinct colors in the shade of green from one fabric. And this goes so nicely with the bright flash green shade that we have in our 115 inch wide collection. So I just wanted to share both of those fabrics with you so you understood what I meant by Nuance Gradation Batiks if you're not familiar with our 45 inch wide cotton collection of Nuance fabrics. And I should probably do another showing of those as well, because we're adding several colors to that grouping as well. So one other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to our cotton collection, even though we're talking about color, I really want to talk a little bit about care. And we do get questions a lot about how do we care for our batik cottons. Are they color fast? You know, all these words that we want to make sure we're dealing with. And so I always tell people, when you're working with the 115 inch wide fabric, let's say you have a 3 yards, 3.5 yards, 4 yards for the backing of a quilt. We strongly recommend that you pre-wash your fabric with a product called Synthropol. And it's on our website. We have 2 versions of it, one for a top load machine and one for a front load machine. And you simply use, for a 3-yard cut of fabric, that's 115, I would probably use 2 to 3 teaspoons of Synthropol in my wash water. And I have a front load machine, so I use the low foam version. And extra rinse on my cycle. And my temperature is cool to warm, and I do a cool rinse, and then I pull that out of my washing machine. I shake it out as best I can. I put it in the dryer until it's almost dry, and take it out and iron it up, and I'm ready to use it for the backing of a quilt or whatever you're using your fabric for. It's not only for backing, it is for anything, as you can tell, with an apron or a shirt or whatever it happens to be. So I just wanted to double check that I made sure to share with you the care instructions on our cotton, and that's the same for our 45-inch wide fabric as it is for the 115 as well. So you will need to iron it. It's cotton. And I use a size 80-12 top stitch needle when I'm sewing with it, and whatever preference of thread you enjoy, whether it be cotton or polyester, that's your choice, but either are fine. So I hope you enjoyed our little demo and sharing of our green shades of our Batik cotton, and we'll see what we do next week. You'll have to share with us what you'd like to see next, and we'll be back with you next Friday with a Fabric Friday. So keep sewing, sharing, and smiling.